name is Cheryl Monique, and this is my co-host Cannon Barak, and we would like to welcome you to the Nappy Frappe Cafe Quickie. And we're going to talk today about forgiveness and boundaries. So, forgiveness is hard, especially when you've just been hurt deep. And I find that the ones that hurt you the deepest tend to be the ones who are closest to you. And most of our, I feel, deepest hurt comes from childhood. And it tends to roll over into your adult relationships and things. But it can be really, really hard to forgive. My childhood was really dysfunctional. I grew up without my parents really being everyday characters in my life. I was in foster care with my grandmother. And there was a lot of dysfunction there. And a lot of pain and a lot of feelings of abandonment. And, I think around my teens into my 20s, I was just filled with so much hurt and anger towards them. Hate, really. And it was so heavy to carry around for all those years. And people would tell me I needed to forgive. One of my best friends would always say, well, addiction's a disease and you got to forgive. And it didn't play to my heart. It didn't ring true to me. And so it was just really, really hard to hear people constantly telling me that I needed to forgive. But at some point I had to. Bless you. At some point I had to forgive because it was just so, bless you, Papa, heavy on my soul, on my heart. And it probably was around, I think, 23, when I was having this big blow up with my mother. And she was just like, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? And I'm like, say you're sorry. And she's like, I can't take it back. And she couldn't. She couldn't take back anything that I had felt. She couldn't redo the past. And some people will say, oh, well, your parents did, and not always for my situation, but a lot of situations, your parents did the best they could. And sometimes that wasn't good enough. And that's fair for me to say, yeah, you did your best with what you had. And, your lives were crazy and dysfunctional before I showed up. But I was your kid, and I deserved safety. I deserved stability. I deserved security. I deserved the love that I needed. And your best apparently wasn't good enough. And it hurt. And it left me with all of these things that I'm now working through in therapy so I don't pass them on to Cannon. And I can just have healthy relationships moving forward. But that day at 23, I forgave her. And my life has been better since. Hasn't been perfect. Like I said, I'm in therapy now working through it. But I'm not in therapy angry at her or him or anyone else. Because carrying around that type of hurt and pain it doesn't make the situation better. It doesn't fix anything from my past. It just weighs me down to where I feel the need to get it out. And often it comes out on people that don't even deserve it. Or it blows up a situation worse than what you actually want. There's a saying that, and I don't remember who the quote is by. Could be Mark Twain, but I could be making it up if you look it up. But it's, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet leaves on the heel that crushes it. And as a child, I was crushed. As an adult, many times in relationships, being cheated on and treated poorly. I was crushed. And I forgive. And I forgive because it's a freedom that's mine. And I implore you, any of you who were hurt by anybody, to seek to forgive them. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean understanding what they did, because if I understand your reasoning completely behind what you did, then you probably don't need forgiveness. There's a basic understanding, and we may just not agree. But forgiveness is when you have been hurt or you have hurt someone inexplicably. And you just say, I'm not carrying around this anger anymore. It doesn't mean that what you did was okay at all. It doesn't mean that I'm going to let it happen again. But it means that I am done carrying around the weight of this pain. And I'm letting it go. So it's not around my neck and it's not around yours. Because for my mother, her guilt about not being the mother she wanted to be is weighing her down in her later years. And I want nothing more than for her to forgive herself, because I have truly forgiven her. I want all of my siblings to forgive her. I want her to live the rest of her life living her best life, free of the weight of shame and anger and guilt, because every day is only new if you step into it as a new being. But with forgiveness, it's important to talk about protecting your sanity. Because I forgive you doesn't mean I have to allow you into my space, or that I have to engage with you on a regular basis or at all. Now, with family, it's hard to cut people off. And some people don't have this problem. I have a sister who has no problem cutting anybody off. But for family, often, you'll have to be around them again because you engage with people that engage with them. So it's a little bit harder to cut the strings completely. And with those people, sometimes you just need to pull yourself out of situations, not attend everything that person's going to be at. Just make sure that everybody around understands that you just need a little space to protect your sanity. Because if someone, every time they're around you, creates a toxic type of environment where you relive that pain, or the way you relate to the person is just always full of negative energy, then you need that space. Or even if that person just being who they are triggers negative feelings in you, you just need that space, and that's okay. Take your space. You deserve that. Be clear. I'm clear with the people that I set boundaries with, that I just got to take some space from you. If I cut you off forever, you probably got a little letter from me or something letting you know you're done forever. But sometimes just take space. You've hurt me and I don't want to be hurt again, or you don't respect me and I do not tolerate disrespect. And so, there's some people that I've cut off completely because they're not family. And so because you're not family, it's no reason for me to have to be around you on a regular basis. So, it depends on what the relationship is, and if there's a benefit to keeping that person in my life. But also, when it comes to forgiveness and protecting your sanity, you also have to check your own ego to be sure that you aren't creating the pain that's in your life. Let's take a second and take that in, because it can be really hard to take honest inventory of your role in situations. But if you really want to be better and have better relationships, for me, I try to look at all of my past relationships and think, how could I be better? And it's not to say that I was horrible or bad or I failed in the relationship, but it really is like, how can I be better in relating, communicating, conducting relationships where the other people feel valued and heard. And, you know, I'm all about self preservation. Perhaps I was being selfish, or at least came off selfish, and I need to acknowledge the pain that the way I handle things caused, you know? So you have to be open to apologize and move forward. Now, apologizing sincerely, not I'm sorry you feel that way, because that's not an apology, but apologizing sincerely for creating pain in someone's life is important, and it's the only way to have balance. You know, people talk about cutting out toxic people, but you have to check your own toxic behaviors to create balance and wellness in your own life. So, you know, you want to be open to apologize and move forward. And if the person does not forgive you, then that becomes their weight to carry. And it is not your job to carry around anyone else's guilt or shame or anger. If they don't, they don't. And it sucks really for them. But it is not your job to continue to apologize over and over and over again if your apology was sincere and clear. You know, so think, how did I apologize? Did I make it clear? Was it true? You know, were there any disqualifying statements in my apology? If not, move on, you know? So I hope that in this coming year and decade that you have the healthiest of relationships and that you are able to forgive. I don't believe in forgetting, but you know, it might be a little bit of the grudge holder in me. I will remember forever. So that's why I'm really careful in how I argue, because I don't believe that words can be taken back. You know, you can apologize for them, but they've always been said. So I wish you all the most beautiful relationships and healthiness moving forward. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Say bye, Cannon. Say bye. Mwah.